Hello and welcome to Ebru Africa. This is Sports Insight. My name is Esbon Mogambe. We begin with rugby, and Kenya's Rugby Sevens team left yesterday for Dubai Sevens. This is the first assignment for the new South African coach, Paul True. Our reporter Michelle Goro has the details.
Under the new stewardship of their new head coach Paul True and his extremely qualified coach bench, nothing but progress can be expected of the Kenya Sevens national team. Captained by Andrew Amonde, the team holds a fine bevy of extremely experienced players, with the likes of rugby legend Collins Injera featuring in the Dubai lineup.
The team will be captained by Andrew Amonde from KCB RFC. Patrice Agunda from Kenya Harlequins, Philip Omai from KCB, Horace Otieno from Mwamba RFC, Humphrey Mulama from Homeboys, Felix Ayange, Kenya Harlequins, Michael Wanjala from Strathmore Leos, Biko Adema from Nondescripts, Eden Aguero from Kenya Harlequins, Collins Injera from Mwamba RFC, Oscar Ayori from Homeboys RFC, Leonard Mugaisi from Homeboys.
Kenya has increased its global presence in the rugby world, with the chairman of the union participating in the policy-making process for the inclusion of rugby in the impending 2016 Olympics. The new head coach ahead of their departure this Sunday has expressed great confidence in the team. With his ambitious goals for the team, he did, however, outline that other commitments by players did pose a challenge to achieve the star status that the team could possess.
Patrice is only going to be available for the first tournament, and he's writing exams the following week. Players like Lavin, Sydney, they all have work commitments. So Oscar Oma, he's got study commitments. So those players weren't considered because of work commitments or study commitments.
The 12-strong member team, with the support of its immense fan base and a trophy cupboard that would make most African rugby teams shy away, has expectations of nothing less than the top spot.
In football, it's all systems go for Brazil 2014 World Cup, as the remaining slots were taken up in the last round of qualification playoffs. It was celebrations across the football world as various national teams qualified. From the streets of Algeria to the streets of Lisbon to those of Paris, it was all celebrations as their national teams finally got a ticket to Brazil. The list of African qualifiers was completed, with Ghana advancing on a 7-3 aggregate over Egypt and Algeria progressing on away goals at the expense of Burkina Faso. For Africa, the same teams were Africa's ambassadors at the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. In Europe, many people had written off France after they lost 2-0 to Ukraine in their first leg, but what they couldn't do in Kiev, they did it in Paris. They beat Ukraine 3-0 to book their ticket to Brazil.
This is a first victory for the team, a team that was winning from the first minute to the last. Who here would have thought it? And we really won this time in a particular enjoyable way. I was told this team won't succeed. It can't happen for many reasons. And now they got there. They really set an example. You must go on. You must believe.
Cristiano Ronaldo scored a dazzling hat-trick to send Portugal into the 2014 World Cup finals at the expense of Sweden. The final batch will be determined tonight when Uruguay defends a 5-0 advantage against Jordan. Here now are the teams from each region that have a ticket to the 2014 World Cup in Brazil. In studio to give us more insight onto the World Cup qualifications in Brazil is a football expert. Then it's Machio, who is a director at Michezo Africa. Thank you for coming. For me, the comeback by France, that was incredible. What did you make of their qualification?
It was a difficult season for France. They had a hard time, especially the last round, and the comeback was very good against Ukraine. And their 3-0 win at home was very powerful. Having lost 2-0 in the playoffs away in Ukraine, it was always very difficult for them to come back, but they had the support of the fans, the support of the government, the support of the officials, and it's incredible because they broke the record and became the first European team to have been trailing 2-0 in the playoffs first leg and qualify for the second round for the World Cup.
Indeed, coming back home, the same teams represented Africa in 2010 in South Africa. What are our chances of, progressing past group stages?
It is very difficult, but we have a good representation of teams. The rocks of African football. We have Nigeria, we have Cameroon, we have Ghana, we have Ivory Coast, and one team from the North Africa, that is Algeria, which is, as you say, they're all almost the same teams that have been representing Africa for the last few decades. And chances are, last time we saw Ghana progressing very well into the quarterfinals. This year, they qualified with a very powerful goal aggregate, having defeated Egypt 6-1, and despite losing away. But looking at their chances, it depends with how they're going to prepare their teams between now and the 2014 World Cup. That is when now we will know exactly how powerful our teams are. But looking at the quality and the caliber of the players that are taking to the World Cup, we have some chances of maybe going to the second round and quarterfinals, but talking of winning the World Cup at this time is being too overambitious for Africa.
Why is West Africa so successful in football?
Looking at it, there is a long history of West Africa. They have set up, some of these countries have set up very good structures. Because looking at football, it is all about developing from the young age. Teams like Ghana, for example, their qualification for the World Cup is not by fluke. They have been winning the World Cup at the youth stages. Nigeria recently just won the youth World Cup as well. So these are the people, they are teams that have invested in their youth structures, unlike the other regions, because look at Ivory Coast, Cameroon, Nigeria, and Ghana. They have very solid youth structures, and as much as they have also political instability in terms of football management at the top, their youth structures are very good, and that is why the West Africans have always been the best in terms of qualification for the World Cup.
You're from Kenya, your country has never been to World Cup, no chances of going there soon. What ails football in East Africa generally?
Okay, the problem with East African football, which mirrors other problems in many other African nations across the continent, is leadership, purely leadership. We have very good talent. Talent represented in players like Victor Wanyama, who is currently playing at in the English Premier League. We saw his performance against Arsenal was very good. He has talent. We have Dennis Oliech, we have McDonald Mariga. These are players who have the quality. They have come from East Africa, they have come from Kenya. It doesn't show that Kenya does not have talent. We have a problem with leadership and management. We have not set the right structures. What we are trying to concentrate on is reaping from the fruit when we have not sought the roots at the base of this tree.
Which never happens.
It does not happen. We want to go for, we call them results, like immediate results. It does not work in football. You have to nurture and grow the structures at the grassroots. Look at Kenya, for example. Right now we are concentrating on the national team, Harambee Stars. Since this federation came into office, nobody is concentrating on building the youth structures at the grassroots level. That is where the problem is, our grassroots talent development. Because when we go to Europe, we have a problem with technique, we have a problem with tactic, we have a problem with the understanding of the game. Where we have talent, the talent is there, the natural talent is there, we have the power, we have the energy, we are fast, naturally. How technically and how tactically and how intelligent are you to beat the other European players, to beat the other players from the American side.
Who have undergone, you know,
yes, the same training, but now they are better, superior technically and tactically. That is where we are beaten, and that's where we have a problem. So our leaders need to identify the grassroots problem and develop the talent from the root. That is the problem of East African football.
That's indeed what ails football in East Africa and Kenya, where you come from.
For real.
Spain are the defending champions. Who will you be putting your money on, and why?
It is a difficult bet. Yeah, Spain, of course, they play beautiful football, but don't forget that this football is being played in Brazil. So to me, Brazil will win the World Cup. It's a bet I can I can put on it, but I believe Brazil will win the World Cup in 2014.
I'll follow you on that. When you lose, I'll take the bet. Thank you very much for watching. That's all we had on Sports Insight. My name is Esbon Mugambi. Now let me take you back to Beryl for Media Watch.